Today, we're working on my super storage, something I've wanted to do for a very long time because quite frankly, I am not organized whatsoever. In order to do this, I need a ton of redstone, and I could go mine for it, but that just seems tedious. I'm gonna actually build a witch farm. So the first thing we need to do is gather all the materials. We finally made it to the witch hut. First thing I want to do is get set up here, kind of get a little organized. Not yet. I will be farming you guys here shortly. With the witch farm complete and redstone no longer being an issue, I set my sights on my next problem: quartz. Obviously, I could mine quartz in the Nether, but that's going to take way too long to get what I actually need, so my best option is building a bartering farm. Only problem is, I've never actually built a bartering farm. I also don't have enough gold to run that, so I do need a gold farm. Now that I am safe, I'm gonna go ahead and make those fire resistance potions and then go back to the Nether and start mining up magma blocks. I always forget how long it takes to make potions. So after spending about 2 hours in the Nether mining up magma blocks, I had a severe case of ADHD and just didn't do anything with the blocks. Instead, I wanted to make a tree farm for some reason. It works out in the end because I need wood for not only the redstone components of the super storage, but obviously the actual chests for the super storage. And actually turns out that the tree farm is way more useful than I ever thought it would be. I have no clue why I haven't made one of these in the past, but I'm so happy that I made it this time. With 2 farms down, I only have 2 more to go, so let's get to it. After getting everything I needed, I started following the guides I found for the auto crafter, auto sorter, and the gold farm. The interesting thing about following guides is that you actually have to follow them. At some point during all of this building, I thought it would be pretty easy to add an auto smelter to the system, and I was completely wrong for a couple of reasons. One, the gold farm wasn't built, so I didn't even know if the sorting system I had built worked. Spoiler alert, it does, but it's like really, really slow. Number 2, I don't actively kill anything. The fall damage does, so I don't get the player kills, and armor and swords aren't dropped because of that. So I have nothing to smelt. All that being said, I learned a harsh lesson here. I really should take a course on redstone and how it all works just to make things more efficient and also to help me with building in the future. But for now, let's build the gold farm. having unlocked unlimited gold, it was time to set my sights on a bartering farm. This farm has some really cool drops, but for now, I'm only focused on quartz. Everything else is just a bonus. I had the majority of the items needed for this farm except for the blue ice, so I made a quick trip to a frozen ocean to grab some. Once I had the blue ice, I headed straight back to the Nether to start building the farm. Building this farm wasn't too bad, if I'm being honest. It didn't take much time. Gathering the piglins was a completely different story. I had to make a massive platform on the Nether roof, and I basically would just climb really high, fly down, see what spawned, catch whatever piglins I could, and would slowly transfer them into the farm. It wasn't hard or anything, it just took a little bit of time, but that's okay. Once that was done, I finally had access to all the quartz I would ever need whenever I needed it. It was at this point that I started to get really excited because it finally meant that I could start working on the area that would eventually become my super storage. It shouldn't come as a surprise that I want to put my super storage in this wall. The truth is, I'm just tired of looking at it. I wasn't sure at the time if I had enough materials to copy the gradient all the way up because I didn't plan any of this ahead of time. The good thing is, I know exactly what I want to put in the wall and what I want it to look like. I decided I wanted to install 3 really large hearts into the wall. Each would have its own purpose for the world. The bottom and largest heart would be home to my new super storage, along with a few other fun uses. The outline of the hearts would be a mix of obsidian and crying obsidian. The majority of these blocks came from my bartering farm, which was really nice. I did try to mine some obsidian in the end, but for whatever reason that footage got corrupted, so yeah. Looking back on this, I think this would have been easier and quicker if I had mined out the wall before adding in the hearts, but what can you do? I also learned that crying obsidian has little purple droplets. I had no clue that was a thing. I just thought it had purple in the block, so that was a nice surprise considering the color of my base. I don't really know how long it took me to do all of this. I think it would be worth my time to start learning World Edit or Axiom in the future. I've never used them, so I have no idea how long it would take to learn both those programs, but I honestly can't imagine it takes any longer than what I already do, which is stare at the space until I kind of come up with some ideas. With the hearts in place, I could finally mine out the wall in preparation to put in the gradient. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I think it looks amazing. I still have a lot of work to complete, so let's quit wasting time and get after it. I quickly ran out of terracotta for the gradient, which meant that I had to go on a quick trip to grab some. Little did I know, this would be one of the most exciting and surprising trips in this world so far. That is right, I died. I needed to take a break from playing, and out of habit, I opened the inventory menu instead of pausing the game. Don't ask me why. I wasn't aware that I had done that. The only thing I can compare it to is pressing YY when you play Call of Duty. It is a habit that I am not always conscious of. Nonetheless, I learned a valuable lesson that day. always double check that you pause your game. Usually, this is where I would end the world and start over, but I have never made anything this large and, in my opinion, this cool. It felt wrong to leave my base in its current state, so I didn't. I wanted closure and to finish what I had planned for this project. I downloaded a software called MBT Explorer, which allows you to change the game from hardcore to regular survival. I have plans for another hardcore world. I also have plans for this one. The choice will be up to you guys. Leave a comment below and tell me your thoughts. I did ultimately return to where I had died so that I could retrieve whatever was left, as well as get the remaining terracotta that I needed for my gradient. As much as I like, the wall isn't going to finish itself, so let's get to it. It is so nice to not have to look at that disgusting wall. The base is starting to come together, but my goal from the start was to build a super storage. With that in mind, I need to dig out the hearts. I could dig out the bottom and leave the other two for later, but I know myself. If I don't do it now, I'm just going to complain to myself later on and be upset, so we're going to knock all three out. I did want to start from the bottom because I knew that would take the longest. I just had no idea how long it would take. In fact, mining wasn't too bad initially. It wasn't until I started mining deep slate that I started to question if what I was doing was a mistake. I mined out the sides of the heart, I placed water, and then I tried building a tunnel bore multiple times with no success. I still have no clue why it wasn't working or what I need to do to make it work. I even tried placing TNT and exploding that. Nothing was working, so I ultimately went back to mining deep slate like normal. I spent somewhere between 15 and 20 hours mining this bottom heart out before I literally couldn't take it anymore. I can honestly say deep slate is the worst block to mine. It was at this point I had decided to download a mod to allow me to insta-mine deep slate. I may have missed some other options to mine out the heart without mods, but at that point I just didn't care anymore. The mod saved my mental as well as the joints in my hands and wrists. Going forward, with any world that I play in, if there is a quality of life mod that I can download, I probably will. If you don't like that, you think it's cheating, that's fine by me, you don't have to watch. But just want you guys to know that. I quickly mined out the middle heart, and the top heart didn't need to be mined out. the world just happened to have a massive hole there, so that was real simple. It didn't take too long to mine out the middle heart because it was all stone, really, and the heart is smaller than the very bottom one. With the mining done, it was time to start planning my build. I knew I wanted to work with cherry blossom, moss, and calcite. Since I'm at the bottom of the world, I figured deep slate would come in handy considering I have so much of it lying around. I also felt like spruce would look really good, but I wasn't 100% sure on that. The Pale Gardens also came out while I was working on this project. I wasn't sure at the time if I wanted to use that block, but I left it on the table just in case. I wanted to make this process as seamless as possible by grabbing as many of the materials that I thought I would need to complete this place, but I'm just like most Minecrafters and I severely underestimated how large this project was. I also didn't understand how big a super storage actually needs to be, so yeah, that's just a little hint about what happens in the future. Having the floor in place made this project feel real. I'm not sure how else to explain that, but at this point I had put in close to 100 hours into this project, and so it felt really good to be doing something other than gathering resources. It felt like I was finally making progress, and like I had some kind of direction. Before I moved on to decorating the inside of the heart, I wanted to get the super storage in place. I had to dig out all the walls to give myself room for all the redstone I would eventually use. That's not supposed to happen. For once, I did something smart and thought ahead. I decided I would test the super storage early to make sure that I was building it properly. For the life of me, I couldn't understand why it wasn't working at this time. I watched and rewatched the guide I was following, and I had done everything the way I was supposed to. I know all the redstoners out there are dying on the inside. You see, it turns out that sea lanterns don't actually transfer redstone signals. Please forgive me, redstoners, I meant you no disrespect. I simply wanted to try and light up the back of the storage unit. After a couple of minutes of messing around, I went to Google and, well, you know the rest of the story. For some reason, taking out the sea lanterns made me hate the cherry blossom wood, so I decided I would take a trip to a pale garden to grab some pale oak. I thought it would look better with all the deep slate around, and honestly, I wanted to experience the creakings. I will admit the biome is kind of weird. The fact that the world turns gray threw me off because I'm so used to all the color that you see whenever you play Minecraft. I can say the pale white look is really nice, and it makes me want more colors besides it and the cherry blossom wood. Did I just almost get struck by lightning? What the heck? Nonetheless, I chopped down a decent amount of trees, grabbed more than enough saplings, and made sure to find a few creaking hearts. Someday I'll make a resin farm because those blocks are freaking awesome. Once I was done piddle farting around the pale garden, I headed back to my base and continued working on the super storage. finally have a working storage unit that sorts all the blocks that I store in it. I'm not done with the storage. I have to add a section to the opposite side of the hallway as well. I did realize while building all of this that I did not AFK at the witch farm as long as I needed to. Between not adding more storage at the witch farm, as well as wanting to do something other than AFK, I needed way more redstone if I was ever going to finish storing all the items that I have collected in this world. At the time, I did have some extra redstone in the nether, but I didn't realize that until much later. So after adding the second side, I stopped working on the storage. I could have got more redstone and continued building the storage, but considering I died in this world, I didn't want to finish it if you guys wanted me to start a new one. If we continue in this world, obviously I will finish the storage unit. With the storage unit in place, it was time to start thinking about what else the area could offer. I mean, look at it. It looks bland. I'm thinking trees and moss and even more storage, maybe an area to cook food and cook up ores. Also, maybe the beginning of a mine, or I could add a pub or something. Just, I don't know, I want this place to feel alive while having some practical uses other than, the storage at the bottom. Also, I mean, this place is massive, so I need to fill it with something because, I don't know, look at it. It's gonna get really old looking at this all the time if I don't do something with it. The first thing I did was head over to my moss farm, but it never worked, so I took it down and built a completely new one. It now works. I knew I was going to need a decent amount of moss, but I ended up really needing this farm for azalea saplings. You'll find out more about that later on, so for now, don't worry about it. I still didn't have everything I needed to start building in the heart. I needed to visit a few lush caves. I wanted spore blossoms for the obvious particle effect. I also think they are beautiful and they go well with the particle effect you get from cherry blossom leaves. I also wanted drip leaf and glowberries. All of these plants will add some nice vegetation to the heart area, but will also allow me to add lighting without having to hide a ton of other light sources. When you mix that with the moss and cherry blossom leaves, you can start to picture the kind of theme I'm going for. Now that I think about it, having direction doesn't mean you know what you are doing. This was a somewhat overwhelming project. I'm not sure if you have noticed, but I don't add detail to a lot of the things that I do. I mean, look at this build so far. It is a giant hole with a gradient of easily obtained blocks. There is hardly any shading, design, or detail added. My goal with this world has been to grow in that respect, but I find it to be, very, very difficult. I really should consider working with Axiom or World Edit. I imagine that would help a lot with my growth as a builder, but until I get to that point, this is where we are. With the grass installed, I felt like I had taken my first real step forward with adding character to the heart. I knew at this point that I wanted to add a couple of custom cherry blossom trees. I don't really care for the way cherry blossom logs look, so I went with spruce. I knew this part would be a challenge, but the only thing you can do is place blocks, take a step back look, and go from there. I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay, I'm liking this, I think. Cool. I just gotta add something to the left now. With the trees in place, it was time to start thinking about adding vegetation to the surrounding area. I already had grass blocks in place, which meant all I needed to do was bone meal it. I would add extra flowers if I felt it was necessary, but I first wanted to see what would pop up naturally. I also had the drip leaf from the lush caves that I could add on later for extra height and variation if I felt the grass was too much on its own. I also planned to add some azalea trees. Even with the custom trees added, this place still seems too big. The azalea trees would help take up some of that space. The azalea trees seemed too dark, so I added some sea lanterns to them. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I don't know. Either way, they're gonna stay. Next on my list was figuring out the walls. I couldn't leave them as deep slate, so I decided I would make them functional. I wanted to tackle the left side first, so the bottom layer would be extra storage, and the second layer would be my cooking/smelting area. Will I actually ever use these areas? I have no idea, but I think they look really cool and it adds more character to this entire space. good. Now for the next level. ADHD kicked in and I decided to add vegetation to the storage section below. I really like the way the left side came out. It is overkill for sure, but who cares? It's my world. Next is the right side, which should be a bit quicker to do. I want an area that leads down to a mine, and then I want a pub-like area because, I need a place to hang out with all the friends I have. I did end up adding this house over here next to the custom tree on the left side, but I don't even want to show you what I went through to build this thing. Is it proportional? Probably not. Am I good at building houses? Absolutely not. Was this a pain in the butt to do? Yes. It took me like 7 hours to do. It was a pain. I love the way it came out. I think it looks awesome for like my first custom house, but oh my gosh, I am really, really bad at it. And so yeah, there's nothing inside. It's just an empty space, and I don't know. I'll fill it out at some point maybe, or I may never touch it again. Who knows? That completes the rooms for this area. All that is left to do down here is add a gradient for the wall. I couldn't stand staring at deep slate and stone anymore. Believe me when I say I tried. I, at this point, was done being down here. I didn't want to spend any more time in this area. It's kind of hard to tell. The gradient doesn't show up that well because it's kind of dark back there, but nonetheless, I'm really happy with the way it turns out. The last thing that I wanted to do to finish off, I guess, this project was to finish the gradient from the top of the hole through the peak that I built in last episode. I'm not entirely sure why, but something about that peak being completed made me feel some sense of accomplishment, like I could step away from this world if you guys decided that's what you wanted me to do. are done. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with at least 2 friends. Bye.